All aboard. N- n- Time to get bouncing back and forth between the past and the future, and between two different Edgeworths to get this case figured out. They sure are taking their time. I thought this was supposed to be a 10-minute recess. Sorry to keep you losers waiting. But wait no longer! I won the race to find Delicious Scone, and here she is! Hello, dears. This lovely young man said you wanted to speak to me. Delicious Scone, purveyor of the most wondrous wares a pharmacist can offer, at your service. Delicia to my pals, and even Miss Delicious to some. You can call me the winner, and I'll call you whatever I want. Alright, Winnie Pooh, whatever you say. It's lovely to meet you, dearie. So much for call me the winner. Oh, have we met before, young man? Get a load of this, Delicia. That's Miles Edgeworth, Gregory's son. Well, I never. It's a pleasure to meet you, Milesy Smiles. Ad break. If you must address me by my given name, just Miles will do. Oh, Greggy Pegleg's boy, and all grown up too. Make me feel my age, why don't you? I wonder just how old she is. Eustace, I believe we have some questions for our pharmacist. Oh yeah! What brings you to the gallery today, Miss Scone? Why, I came to see dear old Moody Judy, of course. We've been fast friends for 18 long years, and no one's going to stop me visiting her now. I understand that you helped look after Mr. Gusto in the immediate aftermath of the attack. Oh, I didn't do much, really. Just whipped up a quick antidote for the dear old doctor. Wow, you can make an antidote just like that? Oh, yes, dear. As long as I have the right ingredients, I can throw together just about any medicine you like. It certainly helped that the medical room was well equipped, though. We were much better off treating him here than losing vital minutes taking him to hospital. Anyway, we did what we could. The rest, well, that's up to him. And do you know the victim, Miss Delicious? Oh, yes. Well, sort of. It's been 18 years since I last saw him. Apparently, he's famous these days. One of the best confectioners in the world, or so they say. Interesting. So he's a well-known public figure? Oh, yes, dear. He was on the news and everything. Confectionery crafting king of the world, they said. Wow, so the old dog really went to Zhangfa and upped his game, just like he said he would. Perhaps if we could proceed to the matter at hand. Miss Scone, are you familiar with a substance known as Infesticide Ultra? Of course, dear. You use it to get rid of you-know-whats. Oh, it's awfully strong, though. That's why they don't sell it in the shops. Might I ask what you mean by you-know-whats? The little blighters that frighten the life out of poor innocent ladies like yours truly, that's what. Ghastly little creatures running around people's nice, clean kitchens and terrorizing them. Oh, I get it. Those. Thank you, Miss Scone. One more question, if you don't mind. Are you aware of what happens when the chemicals asphyxian and ubiquium are combined? Oh, yes? It's right there in the Infesticide Ultra instructions. Do not mix with products containing Ubiquium, ever. Because if you do, they react with each other and make a horrible poisonous gas. What was it again? Effects of inhalation include respiratory complications and, well, death. And poor old Gusty very nearly didn't make it. To make that much gas you need, probably 500 milliliters of each chemical, I'd say.
She certainly talks like a skilled pharmacist.
Ubiquium's awfully thick and sticky, and it heats up very quickly indeed. It's also bright red and smells minty fresh. Oh, and cheap as chips. That's why they use it in everything. Asphyxian's more watery, and it's white in color. That will do, thank you. You are clearly well informed, Miss Scone. As well I should be, dearie. After all, Infesticide Ultra is made by the company I work for. Oh, but before you get the wrong idea, they don't go around handing out free samples. As I say, it's awfully, terribly dangerous. You couldn't buy it even if you wanted to. Yes, Miss Scone, very interesting indeed. I think that tells us all we need to know.
Strange. I thought she suspected Miss Scone. But something in that smile makes me wonder if she has some other angle in mind.
What is it, Detective Flatfoot? Any developments to report?
Yes, sir. Turns out the sculpture's glass display case opens from the top.
Huh, that's rather unusual.
And the temperature inside can be adjusted too, all the way down to 0 degrees. The Pisces case was kept at 26 degrees. Dang near got my hand stuck to it.
We're lucky you escaped alive. Anything more relevant to the case?
Yeah, they found something on the underside of the top part of the Pisces case. Traces of Ubiquium.
Oh-ho! Now we're talking. That's odd. If there was Ubiquium stuck to it, it should have stayed stuck. After all, at 26 degrees, it would have been frozen solid. It would, huh? So, how did things wind up as they are now?
I think Kay might be able to help us figure out just that. Or at least Mr. Thief might.
You guys are that desperate to get on my good side, huh? Fine, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but take it away. Can't believe I'm taking orders from this guy, but whatever, anything for the truth. Overruled. Before you get too carried away, the Goddess of Justice has no need of your help. We will find the truth ourselves.
Youch! Why so frosty, Judge G? Your baby prosecutor just gave us the big thumbs up. What's the issue here? Oh, wait. Don't tell me the committee has some dirty little secret it doesn't want us finding out.
I am not required to explain myself to you. But if you feel that you absolutely must participate in the investigation, perhaps you can prove to me that it will be worth our while to keep you around.
What exactly does she have in mind here?
Who triggered the release of the poison gas? If you can answer this question, I will consent to your participation in the investigation.
You heard the lady, Smiles. Somebody opened the Pisces case and let out that gas. Considering what we've learned so far, there's only one person it could possibly be, no? Yes, the answer is indisputable.
In that case, please kindly provide it now. Who released the poison gas? Take that!
The victim, Carmelo Gusto, is the only person to have entered the Autumn Wing. Thus, only he could have opened the case.
Correct. That appears to be the only logical answer. Very well, I will permit your participation in this investigation to continue. However, if at any point I feel you are contributing nothing of value, you will be removed immediately.
Understood. Even if Mr. Gusto did open the case, we still have no idea why.
All right, Mr. Edgeworth, tell me what you want to see.
Let's use the data we've collected to recreate the scene before the poison gas went off.
On it! Don't scare me like that! So this is what you were talking about. You're Mr. Thief.
Let's begin by examining the Pisces sculpture. There's a generous amount of ubiquium frozen to the underside of the top part of the case.
Yeah, which is what's keeping that lid on real tight.
The actual glass lid is all cracked though, right? Somebody really went to town on your little house there, huh, Pisces?
And do we have any idea of how the glass lid might have come to be so cracked?
Well, it doesn't look like the outer-facing side of the glass suffered any damage.
I see. So we have a cracked piece of glass that we know was ice cold on its inner-facing side. And we also know that it wasn't damaged in any direct way on its outer-facing surface. Thoughts?
Ice cold. Makes me think of the way you glare at people, sir.
Cracks. Make me think about those deeply etched lines in your forehead.
It was cracked by heat expansion.
Applying heat to ice-cold glass from the outside will cause it to crack.
Huh. Well, I appreciate the science lesson, but why is it all heat cracked in the first place?
Why, indeed. A heat-cracked glass lid lined on its underside with frozen ubiquium.
You look like the cat that got the cream, Malzarino. You know what happened, don't you?
I certainly do. And what's more, I know how Mr. Gusto opened the case. What? But you didn't give me a chance to figure it out first! It would have been quite the wait. Well, don't keep it to yourself, Edgeworth. I want answers! How did Mr. Gusto open the case?
Take that!
The blowtorch shows signs of having been used recently when it was found here in the autumn wing. I think it's likely that it was used on the glass lid, causing it to crack. A blowtorch? Who uses a blowtorch to open a glass case? Oh, I get it. Mr. Gusto was trying to melt the frozen ubiquium so he could open the lid. Indeed. You beat me to the answer by a second, but we'll see who wins in the end. Don't try and tell us you nearly had it. You didn't have a clue. Nuh-uh! It was Edgeworth making things hard to understand. Kay, would you mind updating the recreation so that Mr. Winner can follow along? Sure, just for him. All right, here goes. Mr. Gusto was alone in the autumn wing, and while he was in here, he used this blowtorch to melt the frozen ubiquium on the underside of the lid. Uh-huh, and... As the ubiquium melted, it mixed with the asphyxium that was already present inside the glass case, thereby producing our poisonous gas. When Mr. Gusto had finally managed to open the lid, he would have released the gas and poisoned himself. He made it as far as the fountain room where he collapsed. So he opened the case, and out came the gas, huh? It seems we got there in the end.
But why the heck-a-doodle-doo did he want to open the case in the first place?
I'm not sure. In fact, we don't even know what his ultimate goal was.
I'm thinking he might have come here for the same reason I did. To check out not the autumn wing, but the winter wing. You remember, right? I thought this was where the winter wing was when we first got here.
Caught you out too, did it, my little Eddie Lumpkin? I was ever so confused what with it being where Chili Wink's room was all those years ago. There's even the same little tree in front of the blessed door. Why wouldn't, who wouldn't be at all 6s and 7s, eh? Did everyone involved with the IS-7 incident make the same mistake? I think we need to go and take another look at the winter wing. Time to see how quickly I can convince Mr. Winner, I suppose. Eureka! Ladies and gentlemen, I have the answer! The answer to what exactly? The man was going to end it all! A dramatic exit stage left sort of artsy-fartsy farewell! Have you been listening at all this whole time? At my level, I barely need to listen to a word, and I still understand exactly half of what's going on. Perhaps I can explain a few of the finer details to you later, Eustace. Winner's prerogative. Winner's... sure, thanks, Gavel. Thank you, indeed. I find it's always best to leave things like child wrangling to a professional. In the meantime, don't you have something to tell Mr. Edgeworth and his friends? Oh yeah, I totally forgot.
What is it now?
I took the liberty of investigating our friendly pink pharmacist here. Or rather, I had one of my underlings do it for me. That's nothing to brag about, you know. Shut up! Can't you see I'm talking? Anyway, let's put a pin in my suicide theory for now. Yeah. I have something more important to tell you. It was Miss Delicious who set up the poison gas trap. How could you say that? I was greatly saddened to learn of this, Miss Scone. Your profession is one dedicated to saving lives, and yet you used your expertise to try to take one. I beg your pudding? How dare you? I did no such thing.
Perhaps you could explain, Mr. Winner?
You bet I can. Get a load of this. This is Miss Delicious' pharmacist license. And it says it right here that she's authorized to handle Infesticide Ultra.
A product that we have established contains asphyxian, one of the ingredients of our poison gas.
Exactly. It's almost impossible for ordinary people to get a hold of that stuff. But Miss Delicious is no ordinary person. She's a card-carrying pharmacist. I didn't do it. This is all just a terrible misunderstanding.
Objection!
And that's not all. There was a bottle of Infesticide Ultra in the victim's pocket. And what do you know? It's covered in your fingerprints. We know that you and Miss Bound took the victim to the medical room. What better moment to slip the bottle into his pocket, No. There was only one person on the premises licensed to carry Infesticide Ultra, and that was you, Miss Scone. Furthermore, you are acquainted with Miss Bound, the owner of the gallery, meaning you would have had access to the building and ample opportunity to prepare your trap. No, dear, listen, you don't understand. That Infesticide Ultra was stolen from me. Lying will only lengthen your sentence, Miss Scone. I'm not lying. Oh, it's in my bag somewhere, I'm sure of it.
What is she looking for?
That's not it. And that's not it.
That cloth looks familiar.
Ah, here we go. I knew it was in here somewhere. Look.
And what is this?
There's something written on it, I think.
April 1st, complaints filed. Offense, theft, item stolen, Infesticide Ultra, 1 bottle. It's a crime report relating to a theft.
A what? See, you silly billies, I told you somebody pinched it off me a week ago, no less. By which you mean to say that it was not in your possession at any point today? That's exactly what I mean to say. I think the bottle you found might be the one I lost. I always have some in my medicine bag, just in case, you know. And I'm supposed to keep my bag locked up tight, but, well, I'd forgotten my head if it weren't screwed on. And now, thanks to silly old me, someone's gone and mixed up a cloud of poison gas with this stuff.
I see. But why on earth would you carry such a hazardous substance around with you?
Like I said, just in case. You never know when one of them might appear. You mean the ghastly little creatures that run around in people's nice clean kitchens type of them? You could just roll up a newspaper and whack! One and done. Psst, gavel, what do I do now? Of course. I think perhaps it might be wise to confirm the authenticity of the crime report, just to be safe. It can't hurt to verify Miss Scone's story after all. She may be lying to us. Good idea! Alright, I'm gonna go give the precinct a call. Don't go anywhere. So Miss Scone might not be guilty after all.
Indeed, if she really were the one who set up the poison gas trap, then I highly doubt she would have used a method that directly implicates her. So who do you think did it, Smiles? Someone with knowledge of the victim's likely behavior, and the time and the means to prepare. 2 factors which point to one very specific person. Oh yeah? And who might that be? Don't leave us hanging, big guy. Who had the means to steal the Infesticide Ultra and dress one room up to look like another?
Take that!
Surely only Miss Bound, the proprietor of these premises, could possibly have prepared in such a way. We'll need some solid evidence to support such a theory, nonetheless. So it was her, huh? Strange. It's like he already knew. Whew. Nice shooting, Malzarino. I might have to make that associate position a permanent deal. That is not what I was hoping for.
I'm back with results. The police have confirmed that the theft really was reported and logged, which means we may have been a little hasty with some of our conclusions, team.
You mean that every single one of your conclusions proved to be hogwash?
No, I mean, we're only just getting started.
Oh, then what's our next move?
Well, first we need to go and talk to Miss Bound.
And then?
And then, I'll think about what to do after that. Eustace, Mr. Gusto's real destination appears to have been the Winter Wing. Perhaps it would be worth having someone investigate that room more thoroughly. Oh yeah, we should totally do that. Flatfoot, go investigate the Winter Wing.
Yes, sir.
Gavel, we're going to talk to Miss Bound.
Very good, Eustace. We'll join you if you don't mind.
All right, you have your orders. Go talk to Bound for me. Hey, Mr. Winner, weren't we going to talk with Miss Bound ourselves? Sure, but I thought, why not let the grunts handle the grunt work, you know? Means I can just sit back and wait for their report. A winning strategy.
You spoiled little...
He's so exhausting. I need a break. Huh? There's something in the fountain. It's a body!
What on earth?
Order! Order in the court! Somebody call forensics!
Bad news, sir! Real bad news!
Order! I will have order, detective!
The ice sculptures in the Winter Wing! They've all melted!
What? Did? Huh?
Say! What is the meaning of this?
Now we have 2 victims?
Yeesh, talk about deja vu. It's just like 18 years ago. Even the ice is melted again.
Again?
This is like some weird rerun. Same people, same everything. I said it before and I'll say it again. This is no coinkydink. You're with me, right, Malzarino?
I am. And I think the answers lie in the IS-7 incident itself. In fact, I'm convinced of it.
Great minds think alike. Alrighty then, time for another trip down memory lane. I still can't believe the IS-7 incident was Gregory's last case, or that it's been 18 long years since. A murder at a confectionery contest and one of the participants, no less, Artie Frost. They pulled his body out of a treasure chest that was a part of Samson Tangaroa's chocolate tableau. He'd been hit in the head with a large rock salt lamp and subsequently bled to death. We found the lamp hidden inside the candy castle Delicious Scone had made for the contest. But then, before anyone had the chance to investigate Mr. Frost's own room, all of his icy creations had melted clean away. All of Mr. Frost's work destroyed. Mr. Von Karma wasn't very happy. He told us to get out, and in no uncertain terms.
So what do we do now, Mr. E? I can't believe he just up and kicked us out. Von Karma's a total jerk.
Now, Eddie, it was always the job of the police and the prosecutor's office to investigate the scene.
Yeah, but he didn't have to talk to us like that. Who cares if we're cops or attorneys? We should all be working together to find the truth.
You can't assume that everybody's aims are the same as your own. You may wish to expose the truth, but others might prefer to accept things at face value. Which way of thinking is right will depend on the person.
But what if somebody innocent ends up behind bars because no one managed to uncover the truth?
It can happen. We're all human, police and prosecutors included. Which is why defense attorneys exist. Our job is to help people in just such situations, to be friends to the friendless.
Friends to the friendless.
Now, we may not be able to investigate the Winter Wing as hoped, but that doesn't mean we give up.
You're right, Mr. E. I'm sorry. I should have thought more before I opened my big mouth.
You're young, Eddie. You'll learn soon enough.
I will! I promise! Mr. Edgeworth, Mr. Fender, you look like you could use a little pick-me-up. I'm afraid this is all I have, but please, by all means. Whoa! You're the best, Miss Bound!
Thank you. A little sugar boost might actually help, although these are a little too sweet for my liking. And a little uniquely shaped.
I'm sorry if they're not to your taste. No way, they're great! They're so sweet! You're very kind. Imagine, me of all people, a mediocre confectioner. What? You mean you made these yourself? Yes, Samson loves chocolate, so I had to learn. Keeping him supplied with his favorite treats is just one of my many duties. Although he does spend most of the time coaching me on how to improve my technique. Mr. Tangaroa sure is a lucky guy. Getting to eat homemade sweets made by the one and only Judy Bound whenever he wants sounds amazing. I'm sorry, did you say something? Nope, nothing at all.
Dear sweet Eddie, you really do still have a lot to learn. It seems you're quite committed to the work you do for Mr. Tangaroa, Miss Bound.
Of course, what right would I have to stay here otherwise? What do you mean by that? I was abandoned as a baby, and Mr. Tangaroa took me in. That's right, one snowy Christmas Eve many years ago, he found me on the steps of this very mansion. He saved my life, and became the father I never had. I can never repay him, so my work for him is the least I can do, and I'll be here for him as long as he needs me. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
I must be getting old. I'm welling up a little myself.
And to think today is Christmas Eve, and I can't even give him his present in person. I'd do anything to save him, anything! Please, if there's something I could do to help, just say it.
We're very grateful, Miss Bound. Perhaps you could help us by answering a question. Did you know the victim?
Not very well, I'm afraid. Oh, but if you wanted to see some of his work, I have a picture of the sculptures he made for the final.
My, they're stunning.
Aren't they? I think they're masterpieces. Who would have thought you could make such intricate statues out of flavored ice? Samson adored them too. Oh hey, that's Taurus and Gemini, right?
I didn't know you were keen on constellations and the zodiac, Eddie.
Oh, I love it! The stories those stars can tell. Take Gemini, for example. See the lyre? That's what the harp is called. And the arrow and the... Hold up. The lyre doesn't have any strings. Huh. Did Mr. Frost forget to add them, maybe? That doesn't sound like something he'd forget to do. Wait, really? But I thought you just said you didn't know him very well. Oh, well, he didn't seem like the type.
It seems she's got something to hide, too. You took this photograph yourself, Miss Bound?
Yes, I use this instant camera here. It develops the pictures as soon as you take them. It's so useful. Ooh, I'd love to see it in action. Then why don't I take your picture? Yes! Come on, Mr. E! Let's get a shot of the both of us.
Well, all right then. It would be a shame to waste a good hair day.
Ready? Say cheese! There, all done, and the picture's yours to keep, Mr. Fender. Oh my gosh, thank you so much! That's such a cool camera! Well, it's the only one we've got, so we use it for all our picture-taking needs. It's very convenient, but the lack of negatives is something of a shame.
So there aren't any negatives for us to reference, huh? I assume Mr. Tangaroa used the same camera during the contest?
Yes, you assume correctly. He used it for some work-in-progress pictures of his seascape, and later to take some photos of the other contestants' work.
But didn't you take a picture of the body when you discovered it? And didn't you discover the body while the judging was still underway?
Ah, yes. Samson wanted pictures of all the entrance-completed rooms, but the film ran out just as he finished photographing Mr. Gusto's work. So he asked me to go put in a new cartridge. He seemed to think there should have been some more shots left than there were.
In other words, the film ran out sooner than expected?
Yes, the number of shots he took didn't line up with the number of shots remaining. But he thought maybe he just lost track somewhere along the way.
But had he really, though?
I went to our living area to change the film and was passing through the fountain room on my way back, when I heard the sound of something break and collapse in Samson's room. Samson, are you in here? Ah! Mr. Frost's body was just lying there. I was in total shock. It was all too much. But I remember I called the police and then I went to tell everybody else. And the camera, it's been with me ever since.
I see. I'd be grateful if you could lend us the camera in this picture, Miss Bound.
Of course. Here you go.
Thank you.
Detective Bad, Miss Scone, are they done investigating? They're done with me, that's for certain. The big meanie told me to clear off. Honestly, that Maddykins will be the end of me. The cheek of him.
Guess he got tired of people cluttering up his crime scene.
Did he run you off too, Detective Bad?
Yeah, Von Karma seems to think I'm a nuisance. Can't do things his way with me around. Why would Mr. Von Karma go so far as to exclude his own lead detective? Still, got a pretty good look at the scene. As for Gusto, he's enjoying a nice little chat right now in Frost's room.
What about?
About the fact that Miss Bound said she saw him going in there during the contest. Mr. Gusto went into Mr. Frost's room?
That's right, and I have to say he looked very much like he didn't want to be seen. I don't know what he could have been up to.
Well, he's candidate number one at the moment, as the guy who melted Frost's work. But is that really why Mr. Gusto went into Mr. Frost's room? Got a photo of the room right here. If you need it, it's all yours.
Wait, what? Why would you just give it to us?
Do I gotta spell it out for you, kid? I'm offering to help you guys. I want the truth about this case to come out. Detective!
Really, Detective Bad? Mr. Von Karma won't be happy about this.
Yeah, well, I'm not Von Karma's stooge. If he's gonna stonewall my investigation, then I'm not gonna play by the book either. Can't let some pesky rules keep me from finding the truth. Now can I, Mr. Edgeworth? Indeed. Thank you, Detective Bad.
Wow, I can't believe you won him over, Mr. E. Well, I haven't the foggiest what you're all going on about, but here's to new friends, eh?
It's definitely nice to have the good detective on our side, that's for sure. All right, let's take a look at that photograph. Here. This is what Frost's room looks like right now.
Yikes, there's nothing left of his flavored ice sculptures but puddles.
The floor appears to be completely covered in a pale blue liquid. I should compare this with the photo I just borrowed from Miss Bound. I assume that the unplugged power cord has something to do with all this. Yeah, once that was out of the socket, the display cases lost power, and up the temperature went. It looks like they were all connected to the same power strip. Do you have any idea when it was unplugged? Nope. Still working on that.
Those sculptures were beautiful. What a waste. You could say that again. I should have taken a few more bites out of them when I had the chance.
So they tasted good?
Did they ever? I've never tried ice that's so scrumptious in all my life.
Really?
Man, I wish I could have had a bite. Well, scrumptious except for the salty bit, of course. That was unbearable.
The salty bit?
It's in the other photo you've got there. This bit, the harpy thing.
Gemini's lyre.
Wait, that's why it had no strings? Because you ate them? I didn't eat that much, you cheeky little devil. I told you, it was all horrible and salty.
It's interesting that only one particular part of this one particular sculpture tasted different from the rest. And could somebody other than Miss Scone really be responsible for eating the rest of the strings? Did you notice anything else, Miss Scone?
Come to think of it, I did. There was a funny little mark on Chittywinks' work. It was 2 little letters. Let me see if I can draw it for you. There we go. Yes, it looked just like that.
It's almost like a signature or something. Wait!
I just knew Mr. Frost wouldn't have made that harp without strings. He's not the type to skip an important detail like that.
I hope you don't mind me asking, Miss Bound, but are you certain you didn't know Mr. Frost particularly well?
What? No, I barely knew him, I swear.
Is that so? You certainly seem to have some strong opinions about his attitude toward his work.
No, I just, the sculptures were so carefully made, I didn't think you'd miss something so important.
I'm sorry, but I don't believe you. You have a more personal connection to his work than that.
But what makes you say that?
I have an item of evidence that appears to have been one of Mr. Frost's possessions, and it shares a key feature with another piece of evidence.
Well, I won't know what you're talking about if you don't share. So what are these 2 pieces of evidence of yours?
Which 2 items point to Mr. Frost? This is the first.
Take that!
And now the second.
Take that!
Miss Scone found 2 letters carved into Mr. Frost's ice sculptures. I think they were a signature of sorts. After all, it's not unusual for an artist to initial their work.
I guess not. That's right, dear. It's just like you said. Chittywinks' statues had the letters PH carved into them, plain as day.
PH? Shouldn't it be AF? You'd think so, but take a look at this. It's the seal we found at the crime scene. It seems reasonable to assume that it fell from Mr. Frost's pocket. And when pressed into the surface of an item, it would leave behind the letters PH. The same pottery mark we see imprinted on the bottom of the items in the tea set. The same pottery mark? We have already established that the tea set is the work of the sculptor Paul Halik. From that, we can assume that these same letters would mark any item out as a piece of his work. A fact of which you are well aware, correct, Miss Bound?
Well, yes. I know that he always marks his work with his initials like that. He's never revealed his true identity in public, so it's the only way to know his works are truly his.
You mean Paul Halik was... That's right, Detective. Artie Frost had another identity. He was no ordinary confectioner, at least as far as Miss Bound was concerned. For you see, Mr. Frost was in fact... Mr. Frost was, in fact, none other than the famed sculptor Paul Halik.
What? Mr. Frost and Paul Halik were the same person?
But it's not like the mark's hard to copy, though. Anyone who's seen it could fake being him with it. Not exactly conclusive proof that Frost was who you say he was. It was proof enough for Miss Bound. What matters is that she believed it. His true identity will have to be investigated by the good people of the precinct. All right, I'll have the boys look into it.
I should have known I couldn't hide it from you, Mr. Edgeworth.
So you admit it. You were aware of who Mr. Frost really was?
When I discovered his body, I saw the seal you found. Don't ask me how, but I just knew straight away that he was my dear Paul Halik. Imagine, his entries in a confectionery contest were his final legacy. A great man like that!
And, be honest, did you enter Mr. Frost's room at any point?
What? Why are you asking me that?
The photograph of Mr. Frost's room. I'd like to know when it was taken.
I must have gotten it mixed up with the one Samson took during the judging.
Objection!
I'm afraid I find that rather hard to believe. You said yourself that the camera ran out of film during the judging, and that you've had charge of the camera since before Mr. Tangaroa had the chance to visit Mr. Frost's room. That's how you were able to take that picture when you discovered Mr. Frost's body.
I suppose so.
This suggests that you took only 2 pictures with the new film, one of Mr. Frost's body and one of his room. But I have a piece of evidence that says otherwise.
You do?
Which piece of evidence contradicts the assumption that Miss Bound only took 2 pictures?
Take that!
The camera?
You gave the picture of the body to the police and the picture of Mr. Frost's room to me.
Oh, and you gave us that picture you took of me and Mr. Edgeworth, too.
3 photographs in total, and yet the film cartridge in this camera only has 3 exposures remaining, out of a total of 20. You took more pictures, and I want to know what of. I'll need to see all the photos you took. Perhaps then we'll finally learn what you were really up to.
I'm so sorry. I confess, I've been lying to you.
Huh. These are all shots of Frost's room.
I'm so sorry. Looks like she took pictures of his work from every possible angle.
And when they were taken, the ice still hadn't melted yet. Wait, don't tell me. It was you?
It was. At least, I'm pretty sure it was.
You are? Why?
Well, you see, I'm a huge fan of Mr. Halik's work, as you know. I was petrified that they might be ruined, what with the investigation that was going on and everything. So I thought I should at least capture the sculptures on film for posterity.
And how did that make them melt?
I think perhaps I was so intent on getting the perfect photographs that I might have tripped over the power cord without noticing.
By mistake? Are you sure?
I didn't notice it at the time, but, well, how could I have been so careless as to cause the loss of his final masterpieces?
That seems a little convenient to me. I'm not sure I believe it. But I'm not in a position to refute it either.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause any trouble.
Please, don't worry about it. The important thing is that you told us the truth.
What he said. No hard feelings, Miss Bound. Thank you.
Mr. Edgeworth, picture's yours. Hope it helps. Are you infernal nuisances still here? You don't know when to give up. Linger for as long as you like. The answer is still the same. You are not part of this investigation. Whether we're part of it or not, we'll uncover the truth nonetheless. It seems you don't know when to shut up either, but I commend you on your stubbornness.
Mr. Von Karma, I'm afraid I'm the one responsible for Mr. Frost's work melting.
What? What is the meaning of this?
I'm so sorry, and to you, Mr. Gusto.
No concern of mine. I didn't do anything, and Mr. Von Karma agrees. Nothing at all, Mr. Gusto? You went into Mr. Frost's room, didn't you? Perhaps you could tell us why. Sure, I was... Objection! Silence! You are not to give the attorney even the tiniest shred of information. Judy Bound, you are coming with me. I have reason to believe that you are an accomplice of the accused, Samson Tangaroa.
No, I
will be interrogating you personally, so you had better get your story in order.
I understand.
Wait, please! I'm not done questioning her myself. And you think I care because... Bad, Gusto, and you, Scone. I have questions for all of you, and I expect answers. Fine by me.
Ooh, you could at least ask nicely, mannequins. He took literally everyone with him.
Indeed. Well, I suppose that means there's little point in us hanging around either. Perhaps it's time we got going anyway. It is rather late. I hope the snow is let up.
You're right. Home time. I guess my stomach's in agreement too.
All right, let's go grab a burger before my own stomach starts grumbling too.
Sounds good to me. Let's eat up and rest up. We'll need to be fighting fit for tomorrow.
We will indeed, and our first port of call will be with Mr. Tangaroa.
Just a quick moment. Something is bothering me a little bit. That's better. Hey, it's Miss Bound. Oh, Mr. Fender. Mr. Edgeworth. I'm so sorry about what happened yesterday.
She looks rather tired. Has Mr. Von Karma finished interrogating you?
Yes, though he really only seemed interested in how I melted those sculptures. Are you here to see Mr. Tangaroa too? Yes, I'm terribly worried about him.
Detective Bad? What are you doing back there? Oh, just happened to be here. I'll be heading back to the scene soon.
Not sure how anyone just happens to be at a detention center, but okay.
Good morning.
Mr. Tangaroa, what happened to you? Oh no. Samson, what did they do to you?
They didn't seem to want to let me sleep. I had no idea interrogations could be so involved. Sorry if I seem distracted. I think I'm a little... tired. They're not letting you sleep?
That's not police work, that's torture! What's going on here, Detective Bad?
I'm not the one doing the interviewing. It's the guy they put on the case before me. I like Von Karma's methods about as much as you do, which is why I'm doing what I can to help. It was Detective Bad who got me out of there. I'd still be in that interrogation room right now, if it weren't for him. Detective Bad really is trying to look out for Mr. Tangaroa in his own way, it seems. Alright, Eddie, let's share yesterday's findings with Mr. Tangaroa.
You got it, Mr. E. My notepad is at the ready.
Mr. Tangaroa, we found out quite a bit if you'd like to hear it. Of course, thank you.
Are you alright, Mr. Tangaroa? You seem kinda spaced out.
I'm fine, I think my blood sugar might be running a little low.
Samson.
Do we have anything that might give him a little energy boost? Huh? Is that chocolate? For me?
Oh, those are the chocolates I wish
I could just give them to you, Mr. Tangaroa, but the rules here don't exactly allow me to do so.
Oh, that's a shame. But rules are rules, I suppose. There must be some way we can hand them to him.
I hope Detective Bad is not noting the meaningful look in his direction. Let me take a look at them. If they seem legit, I might consider passing them on to the suspect. Thank you, Detective Bad.
My hero!
I'm touched. Thank you, Detective. Yeah, whatever. Just sit tight. Here.
You don't know how much this means to me.
Yeah. Keep it down, will ya? For both our sakes.
Of course, Detective. I wouldn't wish to put your livelihood at risk. Now, to sample these treats.
Detective, I apologize for putting you in a tight spot. I did do it for you. It was my call.
Guess you're not such a bad guy after all. Oh, the sweetness! I feel like a man reborn! Were they your handiwork, Judy? Yes. How were they? Feel them melt! Soft and smooth. Chocolate that'll comfort and soothe. Ear to ear, head to toe. Smile and savor the taste as it flows. Delicious. They're not exactly beautiful, but they're sweet and oh so flavorful. Thank you, Judy. I'm so glad you like them.
And I'm glad you're back to your old self.
My apologies, friends. The food they serve here is just so flavorless. Between that and the lack of sleep, I was about ready to collapse from sheer despair. Wow, is the food here really all that bad?
Just the usual. French fries, ham sandwich, stuff like that.
Yes, and yet I couldn't taste a thing.
Anyway, I'm heading back to the scene. Before you go, Detective, do you have any new information to share? Oh yeah, you were right about the victim's identity. Frost worked as a sculptor in France, where he was known as Paul Halik.
Artie Frost was Paul Halik? I never would have imagined. Poor Mr. Halik. So the famous French sculptor wasn't a Frenchman after all, huh?
This all would certainly explain why Mr. Halik was such a recluse and refused to show his face in public. He was busy working on his greatest masterpiece, apparently. Bunch of Zodiac statues. Guess he'll never finish them now.
He never finished his greatest masterpiece?
Nah, seems he was making statues for each season, but he never got around to the winter constellations.
The winter constellations? You mean Taurus and Gemini?
So the two he made out of ice would have completed the set.
Yeah, and now they're nothing but puddles. What a bummer. I'm so sorry. Oh no, Miss Bound, I wasn't blaming you.
One last thing. Seems he had himself a bit of a spending habit when it came to his work. Every statue cost him millions to make. Which means he was always strapped for cash. We're checking to see if there's any chance someone called in a debt.
I guess not even famous artists are safe from money problems.
Do you have any idea why he entered the confectionery contest? None. Guy didn't even tell his family. I see. Alright, I really gotta get going. I'll go fetch another guard, but I can't be hanging around here any longer. Understood, Detective. We'll see you again shortly.
He's a good man.
He certainly is. And an uncompromising one. Somebody who can be trusted to stand up for what he believes in.
and to scare the pants off of anybody new he meets.
Now, you were going to tell me about what you learned yesterday? Of course. Allow me to give you a full report. Thank you for that, and allow me to apologize on Judy's behalf.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine, Mr. Tangaroa. As I told her yesterday, the important thing is that we learn the truth in the end. Now, would you mind if I ask you a question or two? By all means, I'll gladly share all that I can. What can you tell me about the contestants who took part in the final round of the contest? Let's see. There was Miss Scone. I loved her design concept. Unfortunately, her entry was in violation of the rules, so I had to disqualify her. Mr. Gusto's creations were a perfect balance of flavor and design, at least up through the semi-final. But disappointingly, his entry for the final was subpar on both counts. And there was actually something a little unusual about his entry for the semi-final as well. Which was, it tasted identical to Mr. Frost's. They may have looked different, but I could have sworn I was eating the same thing.
Huh? And what exactly did his work look like?
Oh, there should be a photograph back at my mansion.
I'll show it to you later, Mr. Edgeworth.
Much appreciated, Miss Bound. But Mr. Frost's entry for the finals, that was truly sublime. So you were able to finish judging it? Even though his body had been discovered in the meantime? Yes, I wasn't aware of what had happened until after I'd completed my assessment. Mr. Frost wasn't in his room when I visited, so I took the liberty of sampling a bit. Part of the lyre, I believe. I'd never tasted anything like it! It was like a dream! I was so moved that I burst into song! I'm sorry, but are you saying that the lyre tasted good? I'd like to hear more about that, if you don't mind. You're quite sure it was the lyre you tasted when you sampled Mr. Frost's work? I'm certain of it. It was part of the Gemini sculpture, which was the only sculpture in that display case. Mr. Tangaroa, would you mind taking a look at this photograph for me? So the part you tried was the lyre, the one shown here without any strings? Oh, there were strings originally. That was the part I ate. So the strings were missing because Mr. Tangaroa ate them all, and he enjoyed them. Miss Scone told us she ate a part of the lyre as well, but she said it was far too salty for her to finish. Then it's true. The truth is, I've suspected for a while that there might be something wrong with my sense of taste. Something wrong? How so exactly? There's a taste disorder characterized by an inability to detect salty flavors, and I suspect I've been suffering from it. I eat so many sweet foods on a daily basis that it took a while for me to even notice. But there's no denying it now. That would explain why the food here seems so bland to him.
What? But your taste buds are your livelihood!
Even if there were some long-term treatment option, I highly doubt a total cure for your condition exists. Nevertheless, you should put in a request to the police for a proper evaluation. Oh, that won't be necessary. I have a recipe for a cure back at my mansion. You do? I do. You can take a look at it for yourself if you like.
Samson, we can't show that recipe to just anybody.
Judy, Mr. Edgeworth is hardly just anybody. He's my attorney, and I have no secrets from him.
Yes, you're right, of course, if that is what you wish.
What on earth is the secret recipe for a miracle cure that they've been hiding?
Well, I suppose I should be getting back.
All right, we'll be right behind you. Judy.
Yes, Samson?
There's more to life than just me. Please, Judy, think about the life you want to live, because I won't always be around.
Don't say that! Without you, I don't have a life to live. So I'll be waiting right there at the mansion until you come home. Now, if you'll excuse me. Wait, Miss Bound!
Judy.
Whoa, she seemed really upset. I thought I saw tears in her eyes. Why'd you even say all that to her?
Because I worry about her. She can't keep putting my needs ahead of her own. What do you mean? the Halik collection, the candy making. It's all because she thinks these things will make me happy. She never thinks about what she wants, what she likes. I just want her to be her own person and to choose her own destiny. The last thing I want is for her to miss out on all that life has to offer because of me.
I guess that makes sense.
He really does see her as his own child. What parent wouldn't want their child to walk their own path? And what parent wouldn't do everything they could to protect them? I know exactly how he feels in this moment. I think I've asked you everything I can for now, Mr. Tangaroa. We should be getting back to the scene of the crime.
Oh, you're leaving?
I see. I suppose I'll be going back to the interrogation room for another session. Ah, yes. We'll have to do something about that. You'll speak to the police for me? That too, but I'll be putting something else in place as well. An ace up our sleeve for when the time comes. I look forward to learning more. I'm counting on you, Mr. Edgeworth.
We'll be back to brief you, Mr. Tangaroa, every day. And Judy, too.
Thank you, Eddie. I'll be looking forward to it. Mr. Tangaroa, your interrogator will do everything in his power to extract a confession from you. I hate to see an innocent man suffer like this. But please, you have to do everything you can to hold out. If you can't, Mr. Von Karma will use that confession against you for as long as this case lasts. And it will make it that much harder for me to save you.
I understand, and I'll try.
I won't give up until you're out of there, Mr. Tangaroa. You have my word on that. Detective Bad, thank you again for what you did earlier.
Yeah, thanks a ton!
What are you talking about?
There's no need to be shy about it.
Never mind that now. I'm guessing you two are back here. Looking to investigate some more? We are indeed. We'll need something solid if we're going to save Mr. Tangaroa. Well, I hate to break it to you, but apart from this room, the whole place is on lockdown.
What? We need to see those other rooms.
This is Mr. Von Karma's doing, I presume? Who else? Haven't seen the autopsy report yet either. The guy's probably got a hand in that too. And don't expect to speak with anybody, except us cops and Miss Bound. Everybody else is gone, and I doubt Von Karma will be handing out phone numbers.
Ad break. Is this all just a game to him? Why does he have to go so far?
So, what's your plan of action, Detective? Same as before. Do what I can to help you uncover the truth, like I promised. You have my gratitude.
Just you wait, Mr. Von Karma. We're gonna beat you and your bag of dirty tricks.
Detective, may we conduct a brief investigation of the area? Sure, but like I said, everywhere else is off bounds. You probably won't be seeing those rooms again. That's fine. As long as there's at least some way of continuing our investigation, we'll make do. Excuse me, may I ask what you're investigating?
Sir, I'm analyzing the fountain water to see what might be in it, sir.
And what did you find?
Chocolate and what looks like the kind of flavorings and colorings used in frozen desserts, sir. The composition of the chocolate seems to be the same as that of Mr. Tangaroa's work. And the flavorings and colorings match the profile of those used in Mr. Frost's ice sculptures.
Those little rivers flow from all four artist rooms right here to this fountain. Guess that's how the stuff from the melted sculptures wound up in there.
And that's not all, sir. We also found blood.
What? Why is there blood in the water? Think back to our investigation of the murder scene, Detective. Take another look at the scene in front of us, Detective. A very conspicuous pool of blood that should be here is clearly missing. You're right. Don't remember anybody mentioning that they'd removed the blood along with the body. The victim's blood was mysteriously absent, as was the part of the chocolate chest it had pooled on. I believe that the blood probably belonged to...
Take that!
the victim, huh? I'll have the guy compare it with the blood on the murder weapon. It's a match. The blood in the fountain is Frost's. But why would someone want to send the victim's blood downstream and into the fountain like this? Miss Bound, we're here to continue our investigation.
Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, I'm so sorry about earlier. She's still looking kind of down in the dumps, Mr. E.
She must have been greatly taken aback by what Mr. Tangaroa had to say.
I found the photograph of the semifinal entries for you. Here, it's all yours. Wow, Miss Scone sure knows how to make a cute cake. Yes, Samson loved her design for that one. And he loved the designs and flavors of Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost entries too. Only problem was, as Samson mentioned earlier, they tasted exactly the same. However, their respective entries for the final tasted nothing alike, it seems.
Was there anything else of note that changed between the semi-final and the final?
Nothing major, but I guess there was one thing. Mr. Gusto's son was always here with him throughout the contest, but he was nowhere to be seen during the final.
Why would his son come and hang out at a contest venue of all places? You're sure you're happy for us to keep hold of this?
Of course! I hope it helps with your investigation. Oh, and I also have the book containing the recipe for the cure Samson mentioned.
We've seen this book before. It was in the chocolate frame in Tangaroa's room.
That's right. He put it on display there so that everybody could see the grand prize. What? The cure is in the ultimate cookbook? So it's not a book of dessert recipes, I take it? Oh no, we told the contestants, of course. But I guess nobody told you yet.
So the contestants all knew what the ultimate cookbook was this whole time. I'd like to hear more about the cookbook if you don't mind, Miss Bound. So if I understand correctly, the ultimate cookbook is actually a collection of recipes for different medicines?
Exactly, or rather, totally new medications that haven't made it to market yet, to be precise. To the right buyer, a pharmaceutical company for example, it would be worth a fortune.
But why make that the grand prize in a confectionery contest?
Mr. Tangaroa is the sole heir to the Tangaroa family fortune. Perhaps you've heard of the Tangaroa Group? The Tangaroa Group? Yeah, I think I've heard of them somewhere before.
It's a major pharmaceutical corporation. Sells all kinds of pills and poisons.
Oh yeah, that new Cold Killer Pro has been making some real waves since it went on sale. I always reach for a cold killer when I'm feeling under the weather.
Which is never, as far as I've seen. I'd like to hear more about the Tangaroa Group, if you don't mind. So did Mr. Tangaroa not want to take over for his parents and go into the family business?
No, he preferred the idea of making people's lives better through the power of confectionery. And his parents supported him in his quest to become the best in the world. Then, when they passed away, he inherited the cookbook.
But why would he make such a valuable heirloom a mere contest prize?
He's been hounded by so many people looking to make that book their own. He was tired of it. But it would have been an insult to his parents' memory simply to give it away. So he decided to find somebody he felt was worthy of it.
I'll bet the board of directors love that. Handing over the fruits of all their expensive research to someone else.
They hated the idea, of course, which is why Delicia entered the contest. The Tangaroa group wanted her to win the book back for them.
So you knew she was a pharmacist all along?
Yes, and not only that, I told her how to appeal to Samson's tastes. I tried to help her win.
But why?
I wanted to protect Samson by protecting the Tangaroa group. If that cookbook fell into another company's hands, the board would never forgive him. So I wanted to find a way to keep it with the company, but in a way that Samson couldn't object to.
So that's how Miss Stone managed to make it so far in a contest she had no business taking part in.
But Miss Scone wasn't the only one pretending, was she? Mr. Frost wasn't really a confectioner either. And he still made it all the way to the final, just like she did. Not bad. Yes, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Such a talented sculptor and a gifted crafter of desserts, too.
Gifted indeed, judging by the standard of his work in the final. But how did one man produce pieces of that size and quality in such a short period of time?
I'm not sure I have much more to tell you. But if there's anything else I can help you with, I'd be happy to, of course.
Yes, Offender be back. She's certainly very keen to ensure that she does all she can for Mr. Tangaroa. I could certainly use a cup of tea you made us yesterday, if you wouldn't mind. I think that might help move the investigation along nicely.
Oh, I'll have some too! Your tea is to die for, Miss Bound! Well, how could I possibly refuse? I'll bring it right out. You know, I think that cheered her up a little.
We've learned a little more about the contest participants, but there's still one question involving Mr. Gusto for which we never got an answer. Nothing at all, Mr. Gusto? You went into Mr. Frost's room, didn't you? Perhaps you could tell us why. Sure, I was.
Objection!
Silence! You are not to give the attorney even the tiniest shred of information. What was he doing in Mr. Frost's room? And that's not all. I also have questions about the work he submitted for the semifinals. A confectioner who admits to lacking design sense, and a sculptor with it in spades. Mr. Gusto could not have hoped to win such a high-level contest by himself. Which is why I'm beginning to wonder if there was some sort of connection between him and Mr. Frost. Detective, I need to ask Mr. Gusto a few more questions. His story still doesn't quite add up for me. Me neither. We need to figure out how to get in touch with him. Oh, do you now? Good luck with that, because I have no intention of allowing it. Mr. Von Karma, I am already in the midst of my own investigation into Gusto, so there is no need for the likes of you to pester him with the same questions again. I will, however, be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Van Pissarma. Oh, never heard that one before.
He seemed dead set on preventing me from talking to Mr. Gusto, in which case...
Oh, thank you. I figured my microphone wouldn't pick up a regular one so well, so I decided to turn it into a sadistic laugh.
Fine, then allow me to take you up on your offer. Very well. What is it? I'd like you to tell me about the connection between Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost. The connection between Gusto and Frost? It was simply a matter of coincidence. They both happened to be taking part in the same contest. And that's all? That's all I have to say to you.
What? But that doesn't help us at all.
We'll have to confront him with evidence if we want to draw the truth out of him. And it's imperative that we do. He's clearly hiding something.
Objection!
Octan?
I wonder if you could look at the two confections in the foreground for me, Mr. Von Karma. They were made for the contest semifinals. Both are quite exquisitely crafted, wouldn't you agree? Get to the point! As the nameplate suggests, these were Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost's entries. Mr. Gusto told us that confectionery design was far from his strong suit. And yet, his work in the picture is just as good as Mr. Frost's. Exactly as good, in fact. We learned from another witness that their two entries also tasted exactly the same.
Objection!
What are you suggesting?
Oh, Otacon, you mean. I see, I see. Yeah, it's alright.
I am suggesting that they were helping one another out. Let's take a closer look, shall we? While at first glance the two may appear to be superficially different, it soon becomes apparent that there are significant similarities in how they were put together. They are made of the same ingredients, taste the same, and share a similar design aesthetic. This picture is proof positive that the two were working together. If you figure that much out, I suppose there's little point in denying it. Mr. Von Karma knew all along that they were cooperating. But I'll warn you, none of what you're about to hear will be to your advantage. Let me confirm what you seem to be so desperate to prove. Gusto and Frost were indeed working together. Gusto spelled out the details of his relationship to Frost during his questioning last night. It seems they were helping one another right up until the day before the final. So, you knew that the two were cooperating. Mr. Von Karma, why are you trying to bury the truth?
Objection!
Please, enough with the petty slander. I merely wanted to avoid you poking your nose around before I could provide proper context in court. It simply slipped my mind to explain that to you. It doesn't explain why he's being so slippery with the facts, though. I need to figure out what it is he's hiding. I can't let things end like this!
Hold it!
But why were they cooperating? Gusto's sense of design is subpar, and Frost was an amateur confectioner at best. Neither of them stood a chance of making it through the contest alone. So what was their endgame? Why cooperate only until the day before the finals? Gusto claims to have ended the scheme. Allegedly, he wanted to win the final on his own merits. His one and only goal really was to be crowned the world's best confectioner. And his pride would not allow him to do so with the help of another.
Cheaters can only ever win hollow victories, I guess.
I was under the impression that their collaboration had only lasted through the semifinals. But I'm starting to think it might have lasted up through the final itself. Mr. Von Karma, I'd like to ask you some more about how long they worked together for, if you don't mind. If you must. Gusto's sense of design is subpar, and Frost was an amateur confectioner at best. The two cooperated until the day before the final, then decided to compete on their own merits.
Objection!
They weren't working together during the finals? I find that a little hard to believe. This scone is on record as having described Mr. Frost's creations as scrumptious. And while he was certainly skilled, I doubt even he could have become a world-class confectioner overnight. It seems far more likely to me that he and Mr. Gusto were still cooperating during the finals.
Objection!
How many times must I explain this to you? Assertions require proof, and one person's entirely subjective statement is not proof of anything. Besides, even amateurs can occasionally make delicious food. Perhaps Frost was simply lucky. My wife, for example, is an amateur whose cooking puts first-class chefs to shame. How is that not an entirely subjective statement? Furthermore, you're ignoring another crucial part of the pharmacist's testimony. Namely, that she also describes some of Frost's work as having been unbearably salty. In other words, your evidence actually shows that Frost failed to produce the perfect confectionery.
She might have taken it as a compliment, honestly, because he's not very good at it, but I think that's what it was meant to be.
No more objections, I take it? There must be some way I can prove that Gusto and Frost were still collaborating.
Mr. E? There's something that's been on my mind.
Yes? What is it, Eddie?
Mr. Frost's entry for the finals, wouldn't it have taken a while to make?
I would imagine so.
Making flavored water, freezing it all, and then carving 2 whole sculptures? Could he really have done all that and help Mr. Gusto with his work? Okay, just a loss of chat. If it was me, I'd have barely gotten as far as the setting the flavored water up to freeze part. I just can't see how Mr. Frost could have pulled it off. Yeah. Yep, Eddie comes in clutch.
Perhaps there's some lawyerly instinct in you after all, Eddie. Your ponderings certainly point to another possibility. Eddie's right. Mr. Frost would have needed to freeze his own large blocks of flavored ice to create his art. And there wouldn't have been time to do that during the contest itself. So what must Mr. Frost have done in order to finish his flavored ice entry within the time limit? He must have made the flavored ice the day before. Then all he would have had to do was sculpt it.
He's thinking while burning carbons. Yeah. I'm kind of glad he kicked that habit when he got older.
What are you muttering about now? Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized something, that's all. I realized that you're correct.
What? Mr. E?
I hope you know what you're doing. Oh, accepting defeat at last, are we? The only thing I'm accepting is that perhaps one of the things you said was true. They were helping one another right up until the day before the final. Just as you said, the day before the final really did mark the end of their collaboration. Mr. Frost's entry was carved entirely from blocks of flavored ice. Ice which would have needed at least a day to freeze. And whose flavors would therefore have already been prepared by Mr. Gusto. Yes, which lines up perfectly with what Gusto told me, that he helped Frost until the day before the final. In that case, why didn't Mr. Frost reciprocate and help Mr. Gusto in return?
Objection!
I can hardly be expected to read the minds of the dead.
Objection!
Perhaps not, but I imagine Mr. Gusto could tell us. So why don't you let us speak with him? Or do you still insist your interrogation was as thorough as you claim? How dare you call my methods into question? That's not my intention. I just don't understand why you would obstruct a perfectly valid line of inquiry. Give me one good reason as to why you're keeping Mr. Gusto from me. One good reason? Certainly. The how and why of Frost and Gusto's collaboration have absolutely no bearing on this case.
Objection!
How can you possibly say that with any certainty? If their relationship had broken down for some reason, that could very well have been the motive behind this murder.
Objection!
Could it indeed? Then why did Gusto himself tell me all about it? Why did the man you seem so keen on accusing share the details of his collaboration with the prosecution? Please tell me you have some proof to back up your preposterous suspicions this time. Mr. Gusto only acted suspiciously one time that we know of. And I imagine Mr. Von Karma is aware of exactly what that suspicious action was. Which means, this is probably a trap. Well, cat got your tongue. But even if this is a trap, I can't back down now. Mr. Gusto stuck into Mr. Frost's room, and we still don't know why. That fact alone is reason enough to suspect him. If that's your only concern, then allow me to clear it up for you. I knew it. It was a trap. I was saving this for the trial, but consider it the taste of things to come. Plus, I'd hate for the proceedings to drag on because of your needless interjections. Here, take a look at this. That's Gusto and Frost and their sons. Gusto snuck into Frost's room in order to retrieve this photograph. But why? It seems their sons attended the same elementary school. Gusto was concerned that the fact that of Mr. Frost and his acquaintance might place him under undue suspicion. A concern that you have just proved was entirely well-founded. Gusto's actions make perfect sense, and you have given me no reason to believe otherwise. No! He's never going to let me talk to Mr. Gusto. Now, if you are quite done obstructing my investigation, I have things to be getting on with.
That smug, self-righteous jerk! I'll give him something to be getting on with. What do we do, Mr. E? Mr. Tangaroa's finished if we can't figure something out.
Things to be getting on with? What exactly could those things be? He has a body, a murder weapon, and a suspect in custody. If the prosecution needs to pursue Mr. Tangaroa, surely they have all they need. So why is Mr. Von Karma still investigating the scene of the crime?
Something on your mind, Mr. E?
We're missing something. Something important. Mr. Von Karma has everything he needs to proceed with the prosecution of Mr. Tangaroa. And yet, he still doesn't seem entirely confident of his case. If he was, why refuse to share information with Detective Bad? Who else? Haven't seen the autopsy report yet either. Guy's probably got a hand in that too. In addition, we still haven't solved the mystery of what happened to the evidence that went missing. Take another look at the scene in front of us, Detective. A very conspicuous pool of blood that should be here is clearly missing. You're right. Don't remember anybody mentioning they'd removed the blood along with the body. Evidence that turned up not in Mr. Tangaroa's room, but in a most unusual place. It's a match. The blood in the fountain is Frost's. So there were no traces of Mr. Frost's blood left in Mr. Tangaroa's room. Yet we found some in the fountain instead. Why? Mr. Frost's blood went missing from the crime scene. But traces of it showed up here in the fountain. Why go to the trouble of removing the blood from the scene after the body had been discovered? And why only the blood? Surely the body would have also been in the way. Wait, could someone have moved the body aside to get to the blood? So the body might have been moved aside, or even removed from the scene of the crime entirely. After all, as far as we know, there's still no autopsy report. We've learned plenty about the murder weapon and the suspect, but very little about the body itself. Our assumption thus far has been that the body had been recovered by the forensics team. But what if that assumption is false? What if Mr. Von Karma wouldn't show Detective Bad the autopsy report out of something other than spite? What if we've been thinking about this the wrong way around all along? The question isn't why did Mr. Von Karma hold back information about the body. It's did Mr. Von Karma even have any information about the body in the first place? How do things look from that angle? Perhaps the body hadn't been removed by the police in order to carry out an autopsy. Perhaps it had already been removed and hidden away by the culprit before their arrival.
Mr. E?
We've both heard the rumors about Mr. Von Karma's questionable methods. Fabricated witness statements, shady deals, forged evidence, even.
Sure, everybody's heard that stuff. But what's that got to do with us right now?
I would never judge a person on the basis of rumors alone. Even Mr. Von Karma. I've tried my best not to let my preconceptions color our interactions with him. Nonetheless, it appears he may indeed be willing to twist the truth to his own ends.
Twist the truth? You mean he's been playing dirty?
I fear he might have been, and still is. And I'm not about to let him get away with it. I'm returning to the prosecutor's office. Don't breathe a word about anything to that infernal attorney. Yes, sir.
Hold it!
Yes, what is it now? I have a few questions, Mr. Von Karma, about a certain fact you've been keeping from us. Really? You mean to call the methods of an officially sanctioned investigation into question yet again? I'm warning you, if you obstruct the police in their work any further, there will be consequences!
Objection!
It's not the police I have an issue with, Mr. Von Karma, it's you! What? Isn't it on the prosecution to work out who the real culprit of a crime is? What foolishness is this? I have no intention of debating what the prosecution's role is or is not with the likes of you. But let me make one thing clear. My job is to identify suspects and ensure that every last one of them is convicted at all costs. Believe me when I say I leave absolutely no room for doubt when I present my perfect, unassailable cases.
Objection!
And how far would you go for your perfect cases? Would you create facts out of whole cloth, perhaps? Ha! And I thought you had outdone yourself already. But now you intend to accuse me of fabricating evidence?
A Von Karma must always be perfect. Yes.
I do. Because it is why you've done nothing but hinder Detective Bad from doing his job at every turn. What are you talking about? You didn't shut him out of the investigation because you wanted him to keep an eye on us. You did it to stop him from finding out that you don't have the body. What?
He doesn't have the body?
Objection!
Ridiculous! You're clutching at straws. I will tolerate no more of your preposterous slander. Then allow us to examine it. Prove me wrong if you can. I'm afraid you'll have to try a little harder than that. I am under no obligation whatsoever to prove your baseless accusations one way or another.
Objection!
As you must have seen for yourself, a piece of bloodied chocolate is missing from the scene of the crime. Why did it disappear, and where did it go? What does it matter? Some blood went missing from the chest where the body was found. So what? So what indeed? That's precisely my question. If the body was still at the scene when the police got here, removing the blood would accomplish nothing. However, let us suppose for a moment that the body was not. If someone had wanted to erase any trace of what had happened in that room, then it all makes perfect sense.
Objection!
What is this petty obsession with the bloodstain? But since it's so important to you, why don't you tell me where you believe it went? Of course, after all, evidence is everything, as you never tire of telling us. I believe this should back up my theory quite nicely. What evidence do I have that shows where the blood from Mr. Tangaroa's room went?
Take that!
Traces of the victim's blood were found in the fountain, along with traces of the chocolate from Mr. Tangaroa's room. I believe the missing piece of bloodstained chocolate was dumped into the stream that flows to the fountain, which strongly points towards one certain fact. Someone purposefully disposed of the blood after the body had been removed from the chest. Mr. Von Karma, where did you find the body? You didn't find it, did you? Answer me! You, where did you get your hands on that kind of evidence? You have neither the authority nor the means to carry out that kind of analysis on the fountain water. No, but I do. Curse you, bad! You've been a thorn in my side from the moment you were assigned! Well, no longer. As of now, you are officially off the case. I was barely on it in the first place. Mr. Von Karma, you still haven't answered my question. Will you admit it? Will you confirm that no body was ever recovered? It's really quite the claim, you know. And one for which you'll never find any proof for, I'm afraid. What must I do to get an answer out of him? Now, if you don't mind, I have given you quite enough of my precious time already. I look forward to destroying you in court, Gregory Edgeworth. Your precious logic and theories won't save you then. Nothing will. Mark my words, Mr. Von Karma. Your methods will be your undoing. No matter how you try to hide the truth, I'll bring it all to light in the end.
Yep. Strike the ego.
Forgive me, Detective. I didn't mean to put you in a difficult position. Don't sweat it. It was always gonna end this way. Honestly, nobody's ever sidelined me the way he did before. First time for everything, huh? You know, I think you might be right about the body being missing. I am, and I'll prove it in court. Well, if there's anything I can do to help, just say the word. Since, you know, I'm off the case now. That's very kind, and I'm sorry to keep asking favors of you, Detective Bad, but there is one more thing.
Hey, what are you guys whispering about? Come on, let me in on the secret.
All right, Eddie. The detective and I were just arranging a little insurance for the trial. I think we have enough to see Mr. Tangaroa acquitted. But I'd prefer to have an ace in the hole, just in case.
And? What is it?
You'll find out in the courtroom.
Wait, what? You're letting me join you?
Of course I am. You are my assistant, after all.
Ha! I'll be more than that by next year. I'll be a full-fledged attorney, you know? We can take on Mr. Von Karma together.
Indeed. Though I'm hoping we'll have freed Mr. Tangaroa by then. But if we're up against Mr. Von Karma, I guess we can't rule out the possibility that this might take some time.
Right, but we'll do everything we can in the meantime. I know you can beat Mr. Von Karma, Mr. E. I believe in you.
We can't allow Mr. Tangaroa to remain imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. And we won't. I'll expose Mr. Von Karma's lies if it's the last thing I do.
Just checking to see if I can keep going. Yep. A lot of great moments. And that's pretty much how things went down. Those are the facts of IS-7 as far as I'm concerned. I'm finally learning the truth about my father's last case. So what happened at the trial? Well, we lost. Von Karma did a real number on us. Really? You couldn't prove that Mr. Tangaroa was innocent? Oh, we could prove it all right. Had a decent little pile of evidence in our favor. Problem was, we underestimated Von Karma. He fought even dirtier than we'd feared. I can imagine. Secure a conviction at all costs. That was always his guiding principle. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Anywho, the trial dragged on and on. The whole thing took about a year in the end. I'll never forget the day the verdict came down. December 28th that following year. It's April now, so... Ooh, mama. We're talking over 17 years ago. Time sure does fly, huh? December 28th. I was there that day 17 years ago, sitting in the courtroom gallery.
Just before the trial got started, Gregory noticed that Samson was looking even worse than usual. Turns out the poor guy had finally reached his limit. It was so bad, he even said he wanted to be found guilty.
Wait, you mean they forced a confession out of him?
Yeah, Von Karma got what he'd been pushing for from the very beginning. And when Gregory tried to drop the bombshell about there being nobody to speak of, he learned that Von Karma had used the power of the police to head him off at the pass. He even had himself a fake autopsy report. But that wasn't the end of it. Von Karma had gotten Samson to falsely testify against himself to being an accessory to murder in court. Combined with his own confession, the poor guy's goose was well and truly cooked. But Gregory still had his ace in the hole, though.
The same ace he asked Detective Bad to help him with?
Exactamundo. He knew he needed one last card to play if they squeezed a confession out of Samson. So he had Bad record all of Samson's interrogations.
I guess Detective Bad really wanted to know the truth too, huh?
We all did, but he was a trooper, stayed with the case even after Von Karma took him off of it. He was tied up in some other big case too. Good old Bad. They don't make him like that anymore. Anyway, Gregory presented the recordings as proof that Samson's confession was coerced. And you know what? It almost worked. A cop named Ian Seidman got fired. Samson's interrogator and the initial detective before Bad, he took the fall for pretty much the whole thing. But Von Karma didn't get away scot-free. In fact, he was disciplined by the chief prosecutor.
For the one and only time in his 40-year career.
Still, Samson himself couldn't stomach another day in court. So when that guilty verdict came down, it didn't just signal the end of that day, but of the whole sad affair.
I don't remember a lot myself, but my father's face when they declared Mr. Tangaroa guilty. I was a young child at the time, but even I could tell how much he was hurting inside.
Gregory wanted to appeal the ruling, of course. He would have done anything to clear Samson's name. But then, well, you know what happened next. Poor guy. He never got the chance. I should have left with him that day. I'll always blame myself for not doing that. But I shoved that aside and obsessed over something else instead. Or rather, someone else. I hated what you did. Hated you for choosing to stick with Von Karma. I hope you can forgive me.
No, you had every right to hate me. I went on to become a prosecutor as planned, and that's when Mr. Von Karma showed me this case file. According to these records, Mr. Tangaroa was convicted as the main culprit in Mr. Frost's murder.
Nope, that's not right. Samson was convicted as an accessory to murder.
Strange. The file clearly states that he was the perpetrator. Plus, I'm fairly certain that all of Mr. Von Karma's cases were successfully solved.
Mind if I take a peek at those? This file's been doctored. The part about the verdict, it's been changed.
What?
Here, feast your peepers on this.
Convicted as an accomplice?
That's a copy of the file they have on record at the courthouse.
Then why is my copy so different?
Well, you said it came from Von Karma, yeah?
That's cool. You're really just shortening. You're just gonna start calling him Piss at some point, aren't you?
My guess is he didn't want Gregory's son thinking there was a murderer out there still at large. Didn't want you looking into it again before the statute of limitations was up.
So everything I believed about the case was a lie?
Like they say, we all gotta start somewhere. What's important is you know what's what now. The statute of limitations may have run out, but the truth's still out there, you know.
No, just... You keep shortening Von Karma.
Just replace part of Von Karma's name with Piss, and then you just keep shortening it to something Piss. It's just like, you're eventually going to just start calling Von Karma Piss. Just I'm noting a progression. I inherited Samson's case when your old man passed. Prosecution handed it off to somebody else, too. The great Von Karma wasn't going to bother facing off against a rookie like me, was he? Anyway, long story short, the killer was never found, and Samson was found guilty instead.
That's terrible! Is there really nothing we can do to help him?
Not without the real perp, I'm afraid. Until then, his confession stands. Speaking of which, I didn't find out until after the verdict had been handed down, but Von Karma had threatened Samson and made him a deal. Told him if he didn't confess, he'd make sure Judy was convicted instead.
How could he?
Samson knew there was no way Judy could have done it, of course, but he wasn't going to take any chances, so he did what he was told and confessed to keep her safe. Good know it's a piss. Makes you piss. Yeah, it's a diuretic. Now riddle me this, mousy boy. Why do you think your Uncle Eddie just happened to be in the prison the day Bronco Knight died?
Ah, that's right! You were there to see Mr. Tangaroa.
Bingo! Judy and I both promised we'd visit him every day. I didn't quite keep that promise, but Judy did. She never missed one visit in all these years. Come rain or shine, she always showed up. But none of that changes the fact that Samson is still being unduly punished day after day.
How heartbreaking! We've got to do something, Mr. Fender!
Well, kiddo, that's actually why we came here. The ice sculptures are back on display, just like they were all those years ago. And we're going to see what we can find out. Right, Milesarino?
I'm a prosecutor, Fender. I don't look at these things in the same way as you or my father.
Miles.
But that doesn't matter right now. Speaking not as a prosecutor, but as Miles Edgeworth. I want to know the truth behind both of these cases, and I'm not leaving until I do.
You really are old Gregory's son, through and through. Alrighty then, now that that's sorted, we can really get to work. Good thing I brought the IS-7 case file and evidence with me today, huh? Here, documents first. Who doesn't love paperwork, am I right? The parts in red ink are my annotations. Thank you, Fender. And here's some evidence for you. Enjoy. There's quite a few, so I'd take a minute to scope them out if I were you.
Yes, I see. I'll take a look at them in a bit.
You know, our current case is just full of loose threads too, come to think of it.
Indeed. The key players of that incident 18 years ago who just happened to get caught up in another incident. The ice sculptures in the Winter Wing are perfect replicas of the ones from 18 years ago. The poison gas attack in the Autumn Wing, which has been disguised to look like the Winter Wing. The two chemicals that were found inside the Pisces statue's display case, ubiquium and asphyxium, that form a poisonous gas when mixed together. The victim of the gas attack, Carmelo Gusto, who is no stranger to the events of 18 years ago, and who is still unconscious and undergoing treatment in the medical room. And finally, we come to the body floating face down in the fountain. And the fact that the ice sculptures have melted, just as they did all those years ago. The events of the present day would appear to be intimately linked with the events of the past, which means they may be able to help us learn more about what happened 18 years ago.
Sounds good to me. Let's get investigating.
Objection!
Oh, no you don't. Aren't you forgetting somebody? I could have sworn this is my investigation.
Eustace is quite right. I do hope you aren't intending to obstruct him in his duties, Mr. Edgeworth.
That's the job of legendary mask to mask.
Yep. I would hate to have to add a guilty to my report to the committee. What am I guilty of now?
Of course not. I am simply offering once again to do what I can to help with this investigation.
Your offer is duly noted and duly declined. Ooh, she isn't pulling any punches.
So Phoenix energy. Yep.
The identity of the body from the fountain is currently being ascertained. It is only a matter of time until we have all the information we need.
Perhaps I can help you speed that process along. I think I have an idea of who our mystery victim might be.
What? Really? Then you have to tell me. It's the law.
Very well. Maybe it isn't just the ice sculptures that have resurfaced after 18 years. What am I guilty this time? Yeah. The body in the fountain may also be a visitor from the past.
Take that!
I believe the body in the fountain is that of the man who was murdered here 18 years ago. Mr. Artie Frost.
What? You're saying that was poor Chillywinks? Wait, who the heck is Chillywinks or Artie or whoever it is you're talking about? Artie Frost was a famous sculptor, Eustace, although he was better known as Paul Halik. The sculptures on display here are all his works. No way! Sounds like he did well for himself. Always good to encounter a fellow winner. Mr. Frost was also the victim in the IS-7 incident.
Judge Gavel knows about the IS-7 incident.
Mr. Edgeworth, the IS-7 incident is an 18-year-old case, and according to police records, the victim's body was recovered and an autopsy duly carried out.
Sure, that's what the records say, but the records can't always be trusted.
What are you insinuating?
That while the records say stuff like body totally recovered, the defense back then begged to differ. Not that it stopped the prosecution from shutting them down hard, of course.
Yeah, this is Winner. What? Really? What is it, Eustace? The body! We've got an ID! Some sculptor called Frost or something? So I guess Edgeworth called it? Goddess of Justice!
So my father's deductions were right all along. Well, Judge Gavel, I'd say this changes things, wouldn't you? Perhaps now you'll admit that I might be of use to this case, more than a certain junior prosecutor anyway.
No fair! You're trying to steal the win!
I'm doing no such thing. All I want is to uncover the truth. Thought that Gavel would punch Fender with the hammer. Huh. Well, she slams with it, but yeah, probably could have brought it down on his foot. And if we're going to get to the bottom of what happened here, we'll need to work together.
We do not need to do anything, and you do not need to know the truth. This case is none of your concern.
Objection!
Whoa there, Judge G. I think you might be wrong about that.
Another of your interruptions, Mr. Fender?
Yep. See, I was on the defense team for IS-7, so this case is very much my concern. I was one of the pesky kids pushing the theory that the body had actually gone missing. The prosecutor at the time may have brushed us off, but you can't deny the testimony of your eyes. Or, to put it a little more bluntly, the prosecution's case was rotten from the ground up. When there's been a miscarriage of justice caused by the prosecution, it's the committee's job to fix it, no? And who better to help you unpick the mess than someone who was there at the time? Unless you have an ulterior motive. Judge Gavel seems to know the facts of the IS-7 incident in some detail, in which case I suspect she must be here on the committee's behalf.
Your connection to the case is known to Mr. Fender, but I fail to see how it connects Mr. Edgeworth.
He's the son of the original defense attorney, and the protege of the case's lead prosecutor. And if that's not enough for you, he was at the trial too. I think it's just possible he might have a little something to bring to the table, don't you?
Very well, you may both assist in the investigation, but only if you refrain from interfering with the work of others. The winter wing is off limits for now. This room, however, is all yours.
Alrighty, great to hear we're on the same wavelength, G. Why don't we bring it in to show we're all on the side of justice?
Do not test me, Mr. Fender. Your permission to investigate can be revoked at any time.
Duly noted, Your Honor. This is a turn up for the books, huh, Milesy? We get to do our thing after all. Yes, she came very close.
Thanks to your immeasurable help, as always.
No sweat. Besides, I was mostly doing it for me. Okay, I'll be investigating my own thing, so just holler if you find something interesting.
I will. Well, Kay, shall we? Heck yeah! Let the investigation commence! We're still unclear on two key facts. How Mr. Frost's body came to be where we found it, and the source of the ubiquium. You're right! We need some more intel. Indeed. Let's focus on the ubiquium first and foremost. It's used in stuff like dish soap and paint, right? Correct. It's also bright red in color and has a distinctive minty fragrance. Okay, sounds like we know what we're looking for. Miss Bound's tea set is laid out neatly on the serving cart. The pamphlet says the gallery is famous for its tea. Understandably so. The cup we were given was delicious. Looks like all of this stuff was designed by Mr. Frost. Interesting. In that case, I think we'd better take a closer look. So this dishware was made by Artie Frost. It looks very fancy. Oh, it is. I'm willing to bet that this set can fetch something in the thousands of dollars. So let's try not to touch any of it unless we absolutely have to. Whoa, this stuff's really worth that much? Stop it, Kay. I can see your eyes lighting up. Miss Bound must really be a fan of Mr. Frost, like Miss Fender said, to still have this. I think that the jar is something interesting. Oh. Hey, Edgy! What is it? You be careful with that teapot, you hear? Why is Larry so concerned all of a sudden? Honored guests. I can pour you a cup if you like. Miss Bound. Judy! I'm good, thanks. No tea for me. You two knock yourselves out. Thank you for the offer. Yes, why not? A quick break won't hurt. 2 cups coming right up. Yeah. Kay always hears those dollar amounts, but she has yet to harden her mind against stealing anything that she can see. The truth only, Kay. The truth. This smells great! Wow! It tastes even better than it smells! What type of tea is this, Mr. Edgeworth? It's Ceylon, I believe. It's usually identifiable by its citrus aroma, but... Miss Bound, is this the same blend you served this morning? Why, yes. Is it alright? There isn't anything wrong with it, is there? Oh, no, not at all. It's just that the cup you gave me earlier had a slightly different aroma. Really? That's odd. I used the exact same blend both times. I can't see what could account for the difference. Hey! What's the big idea? Quit being mean about Judy's tea, will ya? Truth is, the game was rigged from the start. Maybe a bit minty? Ah, we may find out. What's gotten under your skin, Larry? Nothing! You're just rude, that's all. You don't even try to call me by the right name. It's Louise Donim, dang it! You know what? I'm done. I'm not talking to you anymore. Well, that was childish, even for him. Wow, what happened there? Let's ask him about it later, shall we? Talking to Miss Bound is more of a priority right now. We may not have any evidence to prove that she's the culprit, but it does seem likely that the poison gas was her doing. Larry, you shrimp. Yeah. From the color and aroma, I'd say this is a puddle of spilt tea. And look, there's a small chunk of ceramic in it. I guess somebody must have broke something?
I know that insignia, and a certain high-strung somebody just might know a little something too. I'm going to keep this simple, Larry. You're hiding something, so just tell me what it is.
Whoa! Quit it with the glare off, you two. It's weird. Come on, Kay. You know me better than that. I wasn't staring. I was struck by an idea for a picture. Now, Edgy, he was glaring.
Yes, and I'll keep glaring at you until you tell us what it is you're hiding.
Quit it! I already told you I'm not talking to you anymore.
You're talking to me right now.
I mean, from now on, I'm not talking to you ever again. Starting now.
This is getting me nowhere. I suppose I'll just have to figure out what he's hiding first before I can get the whole truth out of him. Would you mind taking a look at this for me, Larry?
Why would you show me that?
Tell me, what is it about Miss Bound's tea set that's got you so agitated?
Yeah.
If you won't tell me, then perhaps you prefer to explain it to Judge Gavel?
Wait! Don't make me look bad in front of Verity! She thinks I'm a sensible, cool, clean-cut guy!
It's easy, it's Phoenix Wright.
I don't want her to see the real me, the real low-down, dirty me!
I'm not so sure anybody here thinks you're particularly clean-cut, Larry. But if you don't want her to think badly of you, the best thing you can do is talk to me.
Alright, I'll talk!
Alright, Larry, enough is enough. Now confess.
Is this any way to treat your best friend, Edgy?
Is this any way for you to treat yours? By lying to him? Hiding things?
I got the picture already, so stop glaring at me like that. I'll tell you everything, okay? Earlier, I thought Verity might like a cup of tea, so I went to pour one for her, but I got distracted, my hand slipped, and smash! I broke the teapot, a priceless work of art. It's in pieces because of me.
No words exist to describe how far away I saw this coming from.
Ouch! You really messed up this time, Larice. See, Edgy? Everyone's going to think less of me now. Judy's never going to forgive me for this.
Crying to me won't do you any good. I think you need to apologize to Miss Bound.
My teapot? I see. I'm sorry, Judy. I'm so sorry. I don't have any money, but I'll paint your portrait. I'll paint you 50 portraits. I believe it's the Dogenza pose, but yeah. It's very pitiful. Please, Mr. Donim, it's really me who should be apologizing. How could I have failed to notice that there were broken pieces of ceramics on the floor? Whoops, ad break. Almost missed that. It wasn't about name of poses, but about its user. Okay, true, but generally the Dogenza pose is seen as very pitiful, no matter who you are. Somebody could have been hurt. Here, let me make sure that's safely disposed of.
The teapot in question was designed by Artie Frost, correct? I understand it was something you've long treasured. You must be upset.
Oh, I am. But of course, all things break eventually. And as luck would have it, I have another identical teapot. It's far from the end of the world.
Is she less attached to Mr. Frost's work than she used to be?
I can't believe this, Judy. You're the sweetest, the kindest. This other teapot you're talking about. It's the one sitting on top of the cart right now, right? What do you mean? Yeah, so when I smashed the first one, I tried to hide the pieces in the bottom of the cart. And that's when I saw that other pot under there. So I took it out and basically switched the two pots. Oh, I see.
Yep, and that's everything I have to tell you. I'll be extra careful not to break the other one, I promise. You have no shame whatsoever, do you?
I'm sorry! It's really quite alright. Thank you for being so honest.
See, Angie, isn't Judy the absolute best? I trust you won't take advantage of her kindness and will make amends somehow. I sure will. Once I make it as an artist, I'm going to give her one of my paintings. She was one of my models after all. It's only fair. At this rate, I suspect he's likely to make more trouble than amends. Don't you think it would be better for you to keep out of her way for a very long while? Oh, but I will be keeping out of her way, because I sketched her and the others already. Her and the others? Keen to see my work, huh? Yeah, I drew a few great sketches of some ravishing beauties. Wanna see? Maybe a toxic tea was in the second one.
Interested in Larissa's ravishing beauties, huh, Mr. Edgeworth?
I'm afraid you've greatly misjudged, Kay. I simply wish to see if Larry has captured any unusual details this time, too. Unusual details? Nothing's unusual about these. They're my best work yet.
Really? Now I want to see them too.
Aw, you're a sweetheart, Kay. All right, let me dig them out for you. Give me a sec, okay? I suppose we might as well take a look. So, these sketches of yours. Seriously, Edgy, if you want to check out my art, you should have just said so from the get-go. Here, feast your eyes on this. How about a burning bridge? What am I looking at here? I told you already, ravishing beauties.
To be honest, Larry has come a long way.
Just a few of the fair faces that have caught my eye since I've been here, you know? There's Verity and Judy and, somebody else.
Why did you draw them all on the same page?
Yeah, it's like, I'm afraid we've got bad news for you, Larry. You've got talent. Well, I meant to draw the room at first, just something to pass the time. And then I saw one beauty and another, and well, I just scribbled them all down as I went. So these were all drawn at different times? Huh? Yeah, I guess. I did one of you too, Kay. You're on a different page, though.
Wow, you did? I'm flattered.
How true to life are these sketches? Did you only draw what you actually saw? I mean, he has a talent for art. That scares me. Yeah, scares me too. Of course! You think I draw things I can't see? Like using my imagination? Ah, there's Larry. Nope, these are 100% true to life, right down to the exact shade of each color. So the colors are accurate. Interesting. Much as it pains me to admit it, Larry may have provided me with a useful piece of evidence yet again. The serving part of the sketch, for example, if I compare it to the one here in the room, there's a clear contradiction between the two. I think a little deduction is in order. Could I borrow this page for a while, Larry? Sure thing! You want me to sign it for you? Just the page, please. Larry, could I ask you something about your sketches? Huh? Fascinated by the work of the great Laurice Donim, huh? It's the composition, right? Not exactly. This light blue tablecloth, you painted that exactly as you saw it, correct? I already told you, everything is exactly as I saw it! But the tablecloth on the cart here in this room is white. Wow. Your head's so full of crazy theories, the simple stuff just passes you right by, huh? What's that look for? Listen, just before I drew that sketch, I was in the middle of some business with a cart with a tea set on it, okay? What kind of business? That's right, it was the hiding the pieces of the teapot I smashed kind. That's nothing to boast about. Anyway, I was still in the middle of cleaning it all up when Judy came out of the winter wing. I didn't want to get busted for breaking the pot, so I quickly dove out of sight. Wait, Miss Bound came out of the winter wing? Yeah, and she was pushing a cart, a different one. That's the one with the light blue tablecloth on it that I drew. And what did she do with this second serving cart? Well, I saw her wheel it into the summer wing, but I don't know what happened to it after that. When she came back out, she was pushing one of those other carts, the kind you could lift stuff with. A lift cart? Yeah, so I called out to her, but she just ran off and left it behind. Never had her down as a shy tap, but it just goes to show, you never know.
Well, another serving cart and a lift cart. Is there maybe another tea set too? We'd better check with Miss Bound. I suspect the difference in aroma we notice is due to the teapots having been switched. You do? I can't see what else it could have been. The tea itself hadn't changed. Why don't we ask Miss Bound just to be sure? Miss Bound, the difference in aroma we notice, do you think it could have been because of the different teapot? I suppose so. My cup just now had a subtle minty scent, rather like uva tea. Oh, I just remembered. I made some peppermint tea in that pot only yesterday. That must be where the minty aroma is coming from. Could that really be it? The tea from the teapot Larry switched in from under the cart smelt faintly of mint. Right, Miss Bound said she used that pot to make peppermint tea yesterday. Yes, but there's something else that's been troubling me. Miss Bound seemed more taken aback by the switching of the teapots than the breaking of one. Nope. You're right. You'd expect it to be the other way around. I suspect she might have been deliberately hiding the teapot underneath the cart. But why? One of Ubiquium's key characteristics is its minty fragrance. So what if she had been hiding something in that teapot? What? In the teapot? It's simply a possibility, but one worth investigating, I believe. Mr. Winner, any luck finding that Ubiquium? Huh? Oh! My people are searching the entire gallery, but they haven't found anything yet. And what about you? Don't tell me you know where it came from. Is that poison? No, it's apparently very harmless on its own. And also probably in such a small amount that it wouldn't do anything. I may have an idea. Ha! I knew it! If I can't find it, there's no chance of useless... What? You do know where it came from? Yes. But where? Miss Bound's teapot. Wow! Nice piece. I like it. Yeah, this looks like a fitting prize for a natural-born winner. It's not a prize, it's a vital piece of evidence. Oh, it's just evidence? Then I'll have one of the forensics people check it out. Mr. Edgeworth, is there some sort of problem with my teapot? Possibly. The minty fragrance we notice coming from it. I think it just might be the scent of one of the chemicals used to make the poison gas. But, Mr. Edgeworth, surely you don't think I had anything to do with that? I'm afraid I do. The method used to create the gas would have required considerable preparation. Yep. That's a winner, he's a winnot. No, nobody would have had the time or the opportunity to set that up except you. That's not strictly true. It took around a week to get Zodiac Hall ready for the exhibition. There were all kinds of people coming and going through here during that time. Delicia, for one. So you see, I'm not the only person who could have set it all up. Up at all. Miss Scone is on our radar too, of course. You needn't to worry about that. And besides, I wouldn't know the first thing about making poison gas. So even if you did find some Ubiquium in my teapot, I wouldn't have had any idea what to do with it. But I suppose we should see what the test results say first.
Miss Bound claims she doesn't know the first thing about making poison gas. I need to find a way to prove that she's lying. Dahlia said that too.
Yeah.
Where were you before you rejoined us here, Miss Bound?
I had to go and tell our visitors we're closed. Oh, and hand out a little something in apology. Was there something you wanted to talk to me about?
Yes, a few things, actually. Not least of all, the fact that I think you might be the one who set the poison gas trap. Are there 2 serving carts here at the gallery, Miss Bound?
Oh, yes, why do you ask?
A certain so-called artist showed us this sketch. I couldn't help but notice the color of the tablecloth. It's light blue.
Light blue? I'm afraid your friend must be mistaken. I only use white tablecloths, freshly laundered and starched. Like the perfect wrinkle-free one on the cart here in the fountain room, right? Exactly. If I saw so much as a blemish, I would replace it right away.
Could the color of the tablecloth in the sketch simply be a mistake on Larry's part? Do you have any idea of what you might have been doing when this sketch was drawn?
Let me see. I appear to be carrying out my usual duties.
I'd like to ask you a little more about these duties, if I may. What exactly were you doing when this sketch was drawn? Because from what I can see, your cart doesn't have a tea set on it.
I was delivering some chocolates to the investigating officers. Aw, now I'm jealous. I love chocolate. Well, there were a few left over, so here, for you both. I made them myself. I hope you like them. Woohoo! Thanks, Miss Bound.
No. Well, why not? They're a little melted, but I suppose it's because they've been sitting around in her pocket.
They're super sweet. I love them. I'm very glad to hear it.
They may not be the prettiest, but I'm grateful for the energy boost nonetheless.
Yeah, I love it too.
Though perhaps they could do with a little less sugar. The original ice sculpt was melted 18 years ago, correct? How did you manage to recreate them?
Oh, you know about what happened back then? In that case, you might also know I took pictures of them during the contest. I commissioned the creation of a set of replicas based on those photographs for this current exhibit.
But why go through the trouble of creating replicas?
Mr. Frost's Zodiac series was his great unfinished masterwork. I wanted to see it completed at last. Or rather, recompleted. It was my fault that the original set melted in the first place after all.
I see. And is there any particular reason why the winter and autumn wings look so similar?
Oh my! You really think they look alike? Perhaps I used some of the decorations from one of the other by accident?
She's clearly lying. But I don't have the evidence to prove it just yet. It seems the police have already removed the body.
But why did the body of a victim from 18 years ago turn up in this fountain? And why wasn't it all rotten and stuff? Did it slowly shuffle its way here?
Yeah, it's alright. Chat is kind of meant for shorthand anyway.
Yeah, it could be. It could be for a bit.
Need I remind you that zombies aren't real? It seems likely that the body was preserved somehow.
Really? Is that even possible? Hey, Mr. Forensics Guy, anything to report?
Yes, ma'am. Traces of both ubiquium and asphyxium have been detected in the fountain.
I'm gonna say they were probably carried here by the stream from the autumn wing.
In our hearts, zombies are real. Certainly not our brains. We wouldn't have them. In addition to those 2 chemicals, there's also a large amount of sugar. The composition of the sugar is being analyzed as we speak. There's sugar in the fountain. Where would it even have come from? Edgeworth speaking. Sir, it's me! Is everything alright, Detective? Everybody's left the winter wing. It's just me in here now. Which means I can tell you what we found out. He really shouldn't be sharing information about the investigation. But after the past week or so, I'm not about to stop him now. The exhibits in here have all completely melted. All that's left is the display case and some stuff at the bottom. More of it in the Taros case than in the Gemini case, though.
Describe this stuff for me if you can.
Yes, sir. It's like a pale blue liquid. I had the lab run some tests just now. The sample for the Taros case just had a bunch of sugar in it. But the one for the Gemini case had 3 different substances in it.
Which were?
Sugar, salt, and blood.
Blood? What are salt and blood doing in the Gemini case's sample?
Can't imagine whose blood it could possibly be, but I'll get it tested right away, sir.
Please do, Detective.
Oh, I also spoke over the radio with the forensics guy working the fountain room. He said he just got word that the sugar they found in the fountain matches the sugar in the pale blue liquid.
I see. That might well prove to be a significant development. Anything else to report, Detective?
Yes, sir. We found one of those light-emitting devices here in the winter wing, too.
There were a few of those being used in the autumn wing to disguise it as the winter wing, as I recall. It seems that the equipment from 18 years ago is more than just for show. I need to talk to Miss Scone about this.
Anyhow, I better be getting back to it. I'll let you know as soon as we hear from the lab about that blood.
Yes, thank you, Detective. Was that Gummy? Seemed like he had a lot to say. He did, and all of it very useful. If I'm going to prove that Miss Bound's claims about who could have set up the poison gas trap are false, I'll need to talk to a certain somebody else who was here 18 years ago. Miss Scone, I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. Of course, dear. Fire away. Anything for you, Milesy Smilesy, and dear sweet little Tooth Decay? I'd appreciate it if that was the last time you called me Milesy Smilesy. I'm not a fan of Tooth Decay either. Well, you'll just have to like it or lump it. I can't change a nickname once I've settled on it. Well, I guess we tried. What can you tell us about the various devices used to decorate the gallery's exhibits? There seem to be some pretty specialized items in use. Light-emitting devices, luminous fabrics. Yeah, it's very cutesy and oddly fitting for what she fakes to be at times as well. Oh, I can tell you all about those, dearie. After all, I'm the one who gave them to Moody Judy. It was my way of saying sorry after I broke the rules all those years ago. I bought her 4 lovely new salt lamps, and I gave her the 4 pieces of luminous cloth I used for the contest. Wow, that's super generous of you. Well, us girls have to do our best, don't we? Not everybody understands, of course. That had better not be a dig at me, Delish. I told you how kind I thought that was. Yes, back when you were a dear, sweet, innocent baby boy. What happened to you, eh? Dear, sweet, innocent baby boy? Mr. Fender? Can't quite picture that, I have to say. It's eventually ended up as, she's supposed to be British, but I forgot how to do a British accent and for women, so it's ended up Scottish. So these decorations, they're all the same as the ones you saw 18 years ago, correct? Scotland forever! Yep, salt lamps, glowing fabric, light-emitting doodads, the whole bit. There were 4 luminous cloths in use in the autumn wing, but I'm sure I saw another one somewhere. I'm not lying! Oh, it's in my bag somewhere, I'm sure of it. What is she looking for? That's not it. And that's not it. That cloth looks familiar. Maybe I should jog her memory to something so Miss Scone will tell us more. Thank you. It's not where I should probably be for her character, but I can't. I haven't practiced enough outside, so.
Miss Scone, you're something of a specialist. How might someone learn to make the poison gas that was used in the attack, Any ideas?
Well, any pharmacist who's ever handled Infesticide Ultra would know for a start. After all, it says it right there on the label. Do not mix with products containing ubiquium, ever.
But what about a layperson? It's unlikely they'd know, wouldn't you say?
I suppose so, yes. Well, not unless they'd had a nose through the Ultimate Cookbook anyway.
The prize from the contest 18 years ago.
The recipe for making Infesticide Ultra, along with that not mixing with ubiquium bit, is in there, you know.
So you're familiar with the contents of the book?
Oh, yes, dear. I know it inside and out, because I work for the Tangaroa Group, you see. We're the company behind Cold Killer X. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Cold Killer X fights back sniffles and sneezes with ease. Apparently.
After Sammy Poople was found guilty, the company took custody of the book. But they only grant their most trusted people access to it, of course.
Yes, Phoenix has heard of it. Personal favorite, too. Which means Miss Scone is one of those elites, I suppose. You had a piece of fabric like this in your bag, did you not, Miss Scone? Albeit a somewhat grimier one.
Grimy? How rude! You won't get people to cooperate with your little investigation like that, young man.
Shall I call it a dish towel, then? Perhaps you used it to wipe up some sort of spillage?
A spillage, he says. The cheek! That's a piece of highly specialized luminous cloth. Oh, I probably shouldn't have told you that.
I think I'd like to know a little more about this highly specialized luminous cloth, if you don't mind. Why didn't you want me to know you had a piece of luminous cloth in your bag?
Oh, well, I suppose there's no point hiding it now, is there? If you must know, I fished it out of the fountain. It was right before they called me into the autumn wing.
So Larry's sketch of Miss Scone is of when she was trying to retrieve the cloth.
At first, I thought it was one of the ones I'd given Moody Judy.
One of the 4 you'd given to the gallery, correct?
Exactly, but all 4 were being used in the autumn wing, weren't they? So I realized it must be the one that went missing all those years ago.
Oh, makes the demo man voice actor around.
Oh, they're gonna have to glue you back together. In hell!
Yeah, Gary Schwartz. Who's also the Heavy. Aw, thank you.
I'd already had my Infesticide Ultra pinched and used to make poison gas. If one of my cloths turned out to have been used in some sort of dastardly deed too, well, I was going to look guilty as sin, wasn't I? So I kept it hidden in my bag and hoped for the best.
I see.
Oh, it does feel good to get it off my chest though. Stress is no good for the complexion.
So the cloth that disappeared 18 years ago, the one that the victim was wrapped in, just happens to reappear...
Why is reappeared in the past tense? It should not have that ED there.
Ugh, I swear, the standards for the localization have just been slipping ever since Apollo Justice's game. Just happens to reappear in the fountain at the same time as the body. Hey there, Mauserino. What's the situation with the investigation? Things are progressing. I think a fuller picture of what happened is beginning to emerge. Good to hear. Guess I better step up my game too then. This case seems to have a lot in common with the incident from 18 years ago. Oh, and how? It's got the lot. Melting statues in the winter wing and even the murder victim's body.
But how did nobody ever figure out that the body has gone missing?
Frost had no family apart from his son. And, well, the kid kind of vanished. Nobody's seen him around since the time of the incident. Gusto's son, too. Him and his best pal from school both just up and disappeared.
What? And they were never found?
Gusto's boy wasn't. Not as far as I heard, anyhow. Guess Frost's kid turned up in the end, though. He collected his inheritance at some point. But, yeah, with no family around just after the incident, Frost got no funeral, no nothing. So no need for the police to release the body, and no need for anybody to find out they didn't have it. They filed their fake autopsy report, and nobody was any the wiser. Well, almost nobody.
I still can't believe Mr. Von Karma would have stooped so low. Tell me, Fender, what kind of person is Miss Bound?
Huh? Wait a minute. Don't tell me you've got a thing for her, Milester.
I do not.
Chill, chill. I'm just yanking your chain. Anyway, what can I say about Jude's? Well, she's a real brave trooper for one. What else do you call someone who waits around for 18 whole years like she has for Samson? Even after his extended family kicked her out of this place.
What? They threw her out?
Yep, Jude's wasn't technically part of the family, so there was nothing she could do. She had nothing, nobody, and no job after Samson took the fall. So she had no choice but to take what he taught her and make her own way in showbiz. She's retired from all that now, though. It's fun, Pisarma. You'd kill rivals if you could. Yeah, no, it's true, but it hasn't.
Yes. Why did she retire?
She'd finally made enough to buy the old place back. She even got the ultimate cookbook back from the Tangaroa group after they basically stole it. Guess this place had everything to do with it was all she ever cared about. So she just wanted it back. All of it.
Fender seems very sympathetic to Miss Bound's plight, but from a less charitable perspective, she has, in a way, taken everything of Mr. Tangaroa's for herself. The Ultimate Cookbook contained instructions on how to create the poison gas. And the current owner of that book is none other than Miss Judy Bound. No way! You mean? I'm afraid I do. Miss Bound would have been perfectly capable of setting up the gas trap. Finally, we can prove that she's been lying to us. Why is there a lift cart just sitting out here in the open? Guess somebody must have been moving something heavy. The top of the platform seems to be wet.
You know, I've got a funny feeling I've seen this thing somewhere before.
You mean like 18 years ago?
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. I last saw it in Frost's room. He must have used it to move the ice sculptures around. It's one of those fancy numbers where you can change not only the platform's height, but even its angle. If you had one of these, you can move giant lumps of ice around no sweat.
Ooh, just think of the possibilities. I could really use one of these.
Still doesn't explain what it's doing here, though. Bit of a head scratcher, but we should give it a think, yeah?
Indeed. After all, it just might have something to do with our case. And that's that. All that's left now is to await the results of the tests on the teapot. And I think that's about all I can get my voice to do at the moment. Oof. Thank you. Boy, looking ahead at how much is in these parts has really been helping me. I can finally start making smart decisions about my voice. Thank you. You too, then. Keep your patron happy, but don't let it, destroy you. Are you really doing this, Firefox, right now? Alright, there we go. That's better. No raid tonight. We have arrived at our destination. Please watch your step as you disembark. Please follow if you liked. Thanks for watching. Peace be with you, and may the forces of evil be confused on the way to your home. Bye.